A trial by the Privacy Commission has highlighted the vast number, and when we give you the figures, you will realise that's not hyperbole, of personal information requests made to companies by the police and government agencies. Over 3 months, the 10 companies surveyed received close to 12,000 requests for information about their customers. Privacy Commissioner John Edwards presented the results to the Justice and Electoral Select Committee this morning. And John is joining us now from our Wellington studio. Nice to have you on Checkpoint, John.
Thanks, John.
Welcome.
Nice to be here.
12,000 requests over 10 months. Now, when I saw we were doing this story, I thought there might be a few dozen, maybe that's a large number. Who's making the requests?
It is, isn't it? Well, we had 10 companies, so it's a fairly small slice of the telecommunications, utilities and financial services market, and they collected up the data for us over a 3-month period. We found that the biggest user of statutory powers to obtain personal information from commercial enterprises was Inland Revenue, and they made about 4,600 demands under Section 7 of the Tax Administration Act. Next up was police with about 3,500, and third was the Ministry of Social Development, which might surprise some people, at just over 3,000 demands. Then we dropped right down to MB, which made 99, and Customs, which made 73.
Okay. Requests from the SAS and the GCSB not included, not involved, not counted at all, so we don't know what number they are?
No, we didn't. We wanted to really just prove the concept. Transparency reporting is something which has been born out of the private sector, initiated by companies like Google and Vodafone, Facebook. Locally, Trade Me do it. We wanted to see whether there was anything that we could do to support it. We wanted to make it simple and prove the concept. I think it would be important to see if we can explore including intelligence agencies in a next iteration. But there are, of course, some sensitivities and a bit more legal complexity. So we wanted to make it easy for the companies who volunteered to join to participate.
Yeah, okay. Gosh, this is fascinating, the standoff between Apple and the FBI. This is such an area of interest, isn't it? The other thing that fascinates me is not only to do with the 12,000 requests over 10 months, and I'd like you to tell us this, sorry, over 3 months, is what percentage of the requests were complied with?
Well, that was a quite interesting statistic for us. Internationally in transparency reporting, we see a compliance rate of about 63%.
So 63 internationally?
Yeah,
Yep.
Our study found it was close to 100%. It was over 95, and the non-compliance rate seems to be mostly attributable to situations where the company actually held no record, so that the person inquired after wasn't a customer. So that was interesting to us, but we haven't looked into the actual requests, so we don't know whether that high compliance figure reflects a very high degree of diligence on the part of the law enforcement agencies, only making very targeted and acceptable requests, or whether it reflects a high level of trust in the companies that, of course, if they're asking, then it must be legit.
John, as the Privacy Commissioner, if it's 63% internationally and somewhere north of 95% in New Zealand, viscerally, do your instincts tell you that's too high? I know you don't know for sure, but are you concerned about that?
I'd have to undertake more study. What we saw a couple of years ago with Trade Me when they reported is that Inland Revenue came to them and asked for 1 million customers' records. And Trade Me, to their credit, said, well, hang on a minute, that sounds a lot to us. And they worked with IRD and tried to understand what they needed, and ultimately, after a couple of iterations, ended up handing over, I think, some customer records of about 40,000. So that was an extraordinary drop, and I think that's what we are seeing overseas. We're seeing companies more and more pushing back and asking for a bit more justification. So I don't know whether we'll see more of that in the future here. We don't want to interfere with the legitimate work of law enforcement agencies, obviously, but there needs to be a clear understanding of the rules.
Fascinating study. Privacy Commissioner John Edwards, thank you so much for your time.